Hello, I'm Jess Bazzo of Proformative, an Argyle company, the leading online resource for the Office of the CFO. I would like to welcome everyone to today's webinar, the top 10 reasons finance teams should care about managed travel beyond cost savings. I would like to thank our sponsor, Corporate Traveler. Corporate Traveler provides a unique blend of expert travel management service and technology to over 1,400 small to medium-sized businesses nationwide. They are dedicated to making corporate travel simpler, faster, and easier. Being globally connected and locally focused allows them to provide their clients with access to travel rates from their global network, along with personalized service from a local dedicated travel manager. Their commitment to thought leadership helps us make today's webinar possible and delivered at no cost to the participants. In terms of the learning objectives for today, we'll explore how managed travel can help address a number of areas impacting company costs, including traveler safety and duty of care responsibilities, HR efforts, including recruitment and traveler friction and retention. Before I introduce today's featured speakers, we have just a few housekeeping items to cover. The slides are available under the resource list. We will send you links via email to the presentation and the recording within 24 hours. For those seeking CPE credit today, you must answer 3 polling questions and remain on the line for the duration of the webinar. Credits are awarded in 24 hours. To retrieve your certificates, you will need to sign in on the Proformative website to view your profile. You can then select My Account, My CPE to view your certificates if you are eligible. If you have any questions, please email cpe@proformative.com. Please submit any and all questions that come up during today's webinar into the Q&A section of the interface. We've set aside some time to address your questions following today's presentation. And finally, please take the short survey at the end of the webinar. Now it is my distinct pleasure to welcome today's featured speakers from Corporate Traveler. On the line today, we're excited to have John Morehouse, Chief Experience Officer and with Global Corporate Brands. John is responsible for client-facing innovation and digital mobile platforms, developing additional tools and technology and thought leadership across all the group's corporate travel units. He joined the Australia Group in 2007 as IT Director with FCM Travel Solutions. He was then appointed CIO for FCM and was an integral part of the expansion and growth of the brand globally. John most recently held the position of Chief Strategy Officer for Corporate Brands in the Americas, including FCM Travel Solutions, Stage and Screen, CI Events, and Corporate Traveler. Also on the line today, we're excited to have Ed Silver, CTO of Corporate Brands Americas. Ed leads Corporate Brands in the Americas and drives the continued design, development, and implementation of technology solutions for its business travel and MICE brands, FCM Travel Solutions, Corporate Traveler, CI Events, and Stage and Screen Travel Services in the Americas. His extensive career in travel technology, product innovation, and marketing spans almost 25 years in diverse senior roles. Before I turn things over to John and Ed to kick things off today, we'd like to launch our first polling question of the day. You can see the question on your screen. This one says, do you currently have a managed travel program? The answer options are yes, no, or I don't know. We'll give you a few moments to select your answer. Again, as a reminder for those attendees seeking credit for today, you'll need to answer 3 polling questions, and this is our first one. We'll leave this question up for a few more seconds to allow the remainder of the attendees to answer. And then once we close this question down, we'll share the results and have our speakers make a few comments before diving in. So please go ahead and make your final selection here. And what we'll do now is go ahead and display the results. John and Ed, looks like the most popular answer is no. Do you guys have any thoughts or comments before diving in?
No, not terribly surprising that most people don't have managed travel programs, depending on the size of your business and the amount of spend that you spend on travel within your T&E for the overall company within a fiscal year. We generally see about most customers half and half not having a program, and some not even understanding what a travel program is.
Great. I can now turn things back over to you guys to get started.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining today. My name is John Morehouse, and with me we have Ed Silver.
Hi, everybody.
The format that we're going to use today is really more of an informal conversation. So Ed and I are together, and what we'll do is we'll essentially do a top 10 list, a little bit backwards, starting at 10, going down to 1, and we're gonna list through the reasons that we think finance teams really should care about travel and their overall program in the spend area. And we're just going to make it a bit of an informal conversation. We'll give you guys some stats and some statistics from various third parties and different news media and different groups that talk about some of the reasons for it, and then just kind of debate back and forth the questions and hopefully drive some polling questions from you guys during the process. So with that, I'll hand things over to Ed to start with number 10.
All right. At the top of our list, number 10, the reason why you should use a travel management company is travel expertise. And what most people don't realize is that travel management companies, like Corporate Traveler, are in the business of business travel. And that is a profession. It takes years and years to understand the complexities of travel. And when you work in a managed travel program, you get the benefit of that expertise. While everybody thinks they're really good at travel, being in the business of travel is completely different. And we bring a whole set of knowledge and experience to the table when you work with a travel management company. John, what do you think?
I mean, I equate this to something like TurboTax versus going to a CPA, right? So if you're of a small enough business where you've got a little bit of complexity, maybe a few people in your organization that travel, that are on the road, maybe they go international, you're probably beyond the level of where you could have TurboTax, adequately answer and service some of your needs. So in this space, to your point, Ed, I do think there's such an expertise involved with what is the best way of flying from, New York to Mumbai? How do I connect through? Where are different spots within the city I should go and stay that are safer than others, as an example? Different types of routings and different types of options to book maybe an economy for a very short amount of distance to connect, and then a larger business class ticket, and combine those both different types of fares onto one ticket and one booking, which are not really easy to do on some of the online consumer sites that are out there. So yeah, I completely agree. There's a place for expertise in the overall world, and we do feel as if there's a lot of expertise in travel that gets sometimes overlooked.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are entire industry associations dedicated to this profession. And it is truly a profession. I think that's really important when you think about the amount of travel going on at your company, that you want to work with a professional who knows how to get this done. So that, for us, is number 10. John, over to you for number 9.
Number 9, reason why you should care about travel program within your organization, really removing a lot of the manual administration work that happens as part of it. There is a tremendous amount of time that is lost that equates, when you add it up across the organization, can be tens to hundreds of hours of people that are just trying, for the best intentions of themselves and for the organization, to research the best way of getting from point A to point B for the meeting that you need them to go to, but in reality are really spending probably fruitless hours on the paycheck, on the company's dime, to research options that could more effectively be done with someone else. And we see this quite often with a lot of our customers, where the amount of manual administration work involved with selecting bookings, trying to figure out the best routing, getting an approval from somebody around that process, running it through potentially a security or HR person to make sure it's okay, and then after you're done with the actual process around expensing it, taking receipts, all of this is a tremendous amount of manual administration, which is just cost against the bottom line. So there is so much benefit to bring in a trained professional that can simplify a lot of that process for you, that can help give you hand-curated, delivered options that really make sense to what you want to do and fall within some of those constraints around security and different finance protocols. What do you think about number 9, Ed?
Well, when we were looking at this statistic, and there are a number of studies out there, it was remarkable the amount of time that people spend trying to figure out this particular manual item as a part of their working day. 76 working days. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of time, a third of their time spent on manual administration such as travel. So removing that for them and putting an expert in charge of it is a tremendous efficiency pickup, no matter what department you're coming from. That's a big item.
Excellent. All right. Well, how about we jump down then to number 8, Ed?
Number 8, better employee comfort. So, listen, saving money is on here, but when you are working with a travel expert, you're dealing with people who understand crowded planes, tighter seats, getting around security hassles. All of these are about providing an employee with the comfort and the travel experience that makes their job worth doing. It's really important to focus on that employee experience because they're out there working for you, whether you're in manufacturing or pharmaceuticals or sales or whatever it is you're focused on. That employee's experience is really important, and their comfort on the road is a part of their work experience. And not everybody thinks about it that way. You just send people out on the road, and they're part of being road warriors, but really important to focus on that employee comfort. I know it's important to you, John, in terms of how you travel.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of these of the top 10 that I think you and I can relate to quite heavily because we're very frequent travelers as part of our role as corporate traveler. And travel has very much lost its glamour in the last several years. It is not the glory days where you used to put on a suit to get in a plane, and it was a very big once in a year type of scenario. Many of us within the business world today travel either semi-frequently or some people very regularly for what they do, whether it be to visit customers or to visit manufacturing plants or different offices that the company operates in. And that process is just getting increasingly challenging. There are long security lines. There are all sorts of different complex fares on planes, and where do I sit for this, and do I get upgraded, can I use miles, all these different things that a person has to navigate as they're going through the booking process. And it's no longer the fun that it used to be before. Seat pitches are small. Airlines are cramming lots of people into flights to maximize their revenues, and you need the expertise of someone that knows to make it the most comfortable for your individual travelers. So it really ends up becoming something that is very important for them, the traveler, and it really becomes a really critical reflection of the organization that they see in the eyes of themselves in terms of how comfortable they're made when they're actually traveling abroad. And depending on where you're going, it could even be a security issue.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd add there, John, is that flying in particular, hotel, car, all of it is actually getting more complex. It's not getting simpler. And so having someone who understands how to make sure you are comfortable on the road as an expert is becoming more critical as a part of that travel experience. So I agree with this number 8 very strongly.
Just before we do get to number 7, John and Ed, let's go ahead. We'll just pause briefly to hear from our attendees again. So everyone should be able to see on their screen. This is polling question number 2, and we'd like to hear from you again on which area is your largest focus for cost containment related to travel. You'll see the answer options on your screen here are air, lodging, ground transportation, expense reporting, policy enforcement, or other. Again, just like our first poll, we'll ask that you please take a few moments to select your answer. Again, for those attendees seeking credit for today, you'll need to answer 3 polling questions. This is our second one. We'll leave this question up for a few more seconds to allow the remainder of the attendees to respond. And then just like last time, once we close this question down, we'll share the results and have John and Ed make a few comments before continuing on to number 7 here. So please go ahead and make your final selection. And what we'll do now is go ahead and display the results. Looks like the most popular answer here with a tie actually with 26.8% between air and policy enforcement. John and Ed, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, listen, air is probably the most complex of products to book, and so I'm not surprised that it's a big focus for cost containment. It's also the largest expense on your T&E line, and so that doesn't surprise me. And then a focus for you in terms of policy enforcement, well, that one's interesting. I think that there are many benefits to policy enforcement and that there are other ways of achieving your financial goals that do not fall into the policy enforcement area. And so when you work with experts in the travel management space, we'll help you to understand what are the pros and cons of strict policy enforcement versus lighter versus, in some cases, we have very large customers with really light policy enforcement, yet they have tremendous savings. And those are the things that you need an expert to understand. So really interesting results. All right, number 7.
Number 7, better spend visibility. Spend and understanding what is happening within your spend, depending on the size of your business, is a critical part of what you're doing. Very critical for some companies that operate on very small margins. Maybe a little less critical for larger companies that do a bit more service-oriented type of work. But in general, trying to understand where your expense dollars, the actual cost that you're outlining as a business, for an administration, where travel and expense T&E generally falls as the second or third largest controllable expense item that you have within your organization, is really important. Where is the visibility of what's going on with that? Now, are you spending a lot of money on airlines? Are you spending a lot of money on hotels? Which airlines are you spending money on? Which hotels are you spending money on? Having that level of information really helps you craft and understand where the